Hello, hello. Welcome back. Thanks for the hydrate. Smooth in a second. How's it going, y'all? We're back at it. Let me open up all the stuff. Trying to get in the habit of opening up to this screen, this like we're just chilling screen. I don't really have a lot to say today. Morning. Indeed. It's Thursday. I really haven't been going to sleep too late each night, so I'm just tired. And I've been doing a lot at my day job. So the combination is just making me sleepy. But we're gonna fight that off with some game dev here. Hey, yo, Ryson, how's it going? I got the regulars. I got Smooth in a Second on Twitch, and I got Ryson on YouTube. That's all we need. Let's do this. All right, so I changed my mind. We started working on the tile system, which we're doing is like a big heavy system that's going to handle all of the updates we need to make to the tile map. It's going to figure out all of it, prep the files in like byte form, in like a byte array form, and then set those up for the game script to transfer them over at a specified time. It's going pretty good. That's good to hear. Sounds like you went really deep down the rabbit hole of some of the tile set source code. All right, so yesterday I was like, I'm just gonna do this as an array. I'm just gonna do this as an array because it seemed fine. And then I thought about it a little more and I realized just how sparsely populated a tile map probably is. So we are gonna not do this as an array. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do this as a dictionary of vector 4i, and we're not going to do hull. We need to do like tile. We need a tile object. We don't have, so we're going to make one. We're going to make a tile struct. We're going to model it somewhat off of our tile ID struct in Godot, but it's going to have a little more information. Oh, the music's still on. Oops. Oh, this is boss fight. This is a good song. All right, we'll listen to this, and then we'll turn the music off. My bad. Because I don't keep my headphones in, I like don't know when the music is playing. You're just trying to get comfortable with the code base? Yeah, I can imagine that takes a while. I would never. Especially because it's all C++. And I have a hard time reading that stuff. I'm sure I could get the hang of it reasonably quickly. It's one of those things, I don't really feel like learning a whole new programming language. Although I found a good resource to do it that I feel like is a good resource. Let me see if I bookmarked it here. Developer roadmaps, roadmap.sh. I forgot who recommended this. I think it was Thor. It was probably Thor. But it has like ways to learn how to do whatever. So you can be like, I want to learn how to do game development. And I didn't look at this, so I don't know. I don't know how good this is, but it's like very thorough. Kind of wild. So kind of cool. We might reference some of this stuff later. But what I was kind of interested in was this, C++. You can make an account and track your progress and stuff. So this is a lot to read and or do. But it could at least give me an overview of it, and like I could figure out how to read the stuff. But I don't know. I don't really want to go through that whole process right now. I don't really have the bandwidth to like learn something brand new. Just part of the reason why we're doing all of this in C#, even though C# is like not the best language for us to be doing all this stuff in. All right, I was looking at the tile ID script, this thing. So this is our little, this is what we were used to be using to keep track of tiles. It was super simple. It just had a source ID, atlas chords, and an alternative tile. And it had some functions. We don't really need any of this. We just need to think about the data structure. So we need all of this stuff. We also need a few other things. We need to know like the actual location of the tile. So that's another vector 3. And we need to know the layer of the tile, which is an int. So I don't really want to store that here because, well, I guess we can. So we could store something like, we could store it as like a public vector 4i. Oh, that's the music. All right, that's enough music for now. That was dope though. Oops, sorry if you heard that. I bumped my microphone. Cool, Ryson, cool. You'll definitely be working through that C++ roadmap. You don't have much experience with modern C++. I know people keep saying modern C++, and I'm like, what does that mean? I talked to Bad Cop about it for a bit, and they explained it a little bit as far as like how it's a totally different, how it feels very different in terms of like, I don't know. I'm not even going to try to summarize. I'm not going to try to summarize the distinction between two versions of something I don't understand. I'm not going to try. So we could put all of this in here, and this could be like the physical key. This could be like, I don't think we should put that all in there. We should put maybe here. We could do a 2i, and it could be like position. We could have an int that's like, I'm going to do a vector 3i for position. So we could have a position. We could have a integer layer. So when we key this, we just do it like this. We just do it with a vector 4i. So I'm kind of tempted to do that. iHeartPanda subscribed to the tier 1, 3 months on a 3-month streak. That's awesome. Thank you. Happy Friday. Thank you for hitting me with the happy Friday on a Thursday morning. I wish it was. I kind of want to pack it in here as a vector 4. I'm kind of torn. Is this going to be its actual position, or is this going to be its mapping? I guess that's the question. That's part of the question. So we also need, so let's write down what we actually know we need. We need an int, which is the source ID. We need a vector 2i, which is a atlas coords, and we need a alternative. What do I call this? Is this just called alt tile? Alternative tile, that's its full name. No, I don't want to call it tile ID. I just want to call it alternative tile. Ryson, new language standards add a bunch of new features to the language, changing the common best practices. Ryson, you don't know their time zone? I do know their time zone, but that is a fair consideration. But yeah, who cares? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I guess it's. Where is it Friday? Is it Friday in Japan already? All right. So how do I want to do the first thing? So we have basically this information. We have an X position, a Y position. We have an X position, a Y position, a Z position, which is like the area. So that's like the Z index. And then in the key, I have this W, which is the layer. So I kind of want to just put that same value here, even though that's the value of the key. It's kind of a waste, but also it's kind of not, because this way, when I'm iterating through the dictionary, I don't need to get the key array and the value array. I could just get the value array. I've seen people do that before. I think it's kind of weird, but it makes it so that you definitively know what this tile's identity is, like what kind of tile it is. So let's do that. Let's call this public vector 4i. Maybe we just call it key. I don't know. Maybe I call it position. It's not just the position though, is it? The 3 is the position. Let's do this. Let's have the position. And then let's have an int. Let's have vector 2. This is the position. An int, which is the area. And then another int, which is the layer. Let's just do it like that. I don't really care. This is all the information we need about a tile. We know its position. We know its area. We know its layer. We might change between absolute position or relative position, because I thought for a minute we didn't need to make the distinction anymore when I was reading through all of this stuff, because of how we are physically offsetting the tile map objects, like the tile map layer nodes. So we don't from that purpose, we don't need to offset, we don't need to transfer or translate between the relative and the absolute coordinates. But what I'm not accounting for, which I should just look at this code, what I'm not accounting for is this thing called the view direction, which here I'm calling the turn. The viewing direction is super crucial, because you could be viewing it straight on, you could be viewing it at a 90-degree clockwise, 180 degrees, or a 90-degree counterclockwise. Those are the 4 acceptable viewing directions, and based on those, That matters a lot. So in a way, the absolute coordinates are really just the coordinates irrespective of the turn. And the relative coordinates are the coordinates that respect a turn. And here are our turns. 0 degrees, 90 CW, 180, 90 CCW. And we flip the coordinates around like this. And we do that because when we're calculating how the tile is going to appear, we're only calculating like the tile and the tiles in front of it that might interfere. Like we care a lot about the viewing direction when we calculate this stuff. So all of that needs to be here. So I guess we're going to store the absolute position. I should refer to that like this maybe. Absolute position. And I guess it makes sense to have that be separate because only the absolute position is changing. The area and the layer don't change. I mean, the area certainly doesn't, and the layer certainly doesn't. I could also call it the canonical position. Like there's a number. Absolute position has kind of, or if I say ABS, kind of has the implication that it's a positive number. I'm just going to call it position. And I'll probably add some documentation to make it clear that this is the absolute position of the tile regardless of the turn. Although maybe I was right yesterday. Maybe we don't care because these structures are going to be recreated based on the turn. So maybe I don't care. I would only care if I save this information in between. Like if I don't recreate all of this information when something changes. Okay, whatever. Let's move on. We can get back to that. Tile. So we at least have the things we need to declare this object. Excuse me. All right, so we have, these are the tiles. Oh, we need a hull. That's part of the reason I did this, was so that we can include the hull here. We're going to include it down here. Public hull type. Oh, we should declare that in here. Not in the tile system. Bryson, local versus camera space, world versus camera space. Hey, Scott. How's it going? Well, where are we going to store the viewing direction? Maybe we have a function here. Now, do I want an enum or do I want a vector2i? Because it doesn't matter. Scott, not too bad. You're working a bit on your map generation tools right now in between work projects. Nice. Where do I want to store this information? It's not really part of the world. It could be part of the input, but it's also part of the game state, so I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to store that. We're going to operate. Well, no, we need to figure this out. I don't really know where I want to store that. Right now, it's just going to return vector2i.0, because I don't care. We'll figure that out in a bit. We called this a turn. Where's that defined? Oh, in here. Okay. I wonder if I should have it be that you need to plug in the turn, or if it refers to like a static or something, or refers to. It doesn't need to refer to a static. It just needs to know what the turning direction is. Okay, so all types is now a dictionary. So we can say that. So instead of redeclaring this all the time, should we do anything? Should we say like tiles dot capacity ensure capacity? So we're not, if we need to, we're not going through this whole thing. Say tiles dot clear. We'll clear the tiles dictionary. We'll ensure its capacity up to the maximum here. I guess I don't care about that. Let's just clear it. So now we're going to do this with a dictionary instead of an array. So does that change our iteration loop at all? Not really. So we go through, we get our position. So we get a position vector from the buffer. That's the absolute position. So let's call this absolute position. So if we look at the Godot stuff, we're adapting the code, our Godot tile editor stuff still, and changing it significantly. So if we go into here, look at the floors. So we iterate over every block there. We get the relative coordinates based on our viewing direction. View dir. We also get the opposite chords by getting the relative coordinates. Oh, by going back to the absolute coordinates. Oh, opposite coordinates is absolute. Relative coordinates plus op block dimension. Oh, okay. That seems fine. This, we are checking to see what our Z layer is. Or no, we're checking to see what our Z area is. So what is this? If ship deck is the same as our deck number. Oh, we're iterating through every block. Ah, okay, so we can skip this because instead of iterating through every block, we are only iterating through the blocks in our area. Layer is not right. Right? No, it's not layer, it's area. Layer means something, layer annoyingly means something different. So we start at 0, 0 in our area, and we go through up to max the max build volume with Z is our area. Okay. So we do all of that. We get our position. So I need a function to get the relative position. Should this be a utility function? Probably. It could be a vector function if we pass in the viewing direction. So let's go find some code where we define the viewing direction here. Twist. It's the twist controls. Viewing direction minus equals 1. Okay, so we're just doing an enum, which I think is fine. I think I'd rather do that than pass around a vector all over the place. So viewing direction is defined here. How do we get that down? Are we updating this anywhere? If camera position changed, ship hull.camera position changed. All right, let's go look at that. Oh, can I not? There we go. Oh, is that a... No, that's a function. Where's this function? Oh my god, why is there... Oh, I see. So let's go here. Ship hull is called this. God, be consistent with your naming conventions, Dave. I call it the ship hull, and then here I call it a hull stack, which I like better because it might not be a ship. It could be like a base or like a asteroid or I don't know, whatever. Camera position changed. Viewing direction. Util.turn. View dir is viewing direction for deck and ship decks. Okay, so we're just passing this information down to whoever's interested in it, which is fine. Okay, and we just use the enum. Yeah, let's do that. Let's use the enum. So let's remake this enum somewhere. I don't want to call it a turn. I'm not going to use the word turn because we're making a turn-based game now. I want to be very careful about what I call turn. So we'll call it something else. Maybe we'll put it on tile as public enum view. Say, we'll call it 0. This will be 90. This will be 180. And what, this should be 270. It's probably a better way than calling it negative 90. Calling it turn is better. Unless I want to change the names to something else. Hey, Fusionist. Happy New Year. To you as well. How's it going? How's the year been treating you so far? Mine's been busy already. And then we just need a system to make it clear what our current turn, what our current view direction is. I should probably put this on its own thing. I should probably call this like camera.turn or something like, or like view.turn. Or view.angle. Probably better. It's probably the better thing I could call it. Let's do that. So let's make an enum. This is going to be, well, this is going to be a class, I guess. Then we'll have an enum, public enum, or I guess publicity doesn't matter. Oh, whatever. Public enum, angle. We'll copy this over. It's better. Biggest challenge is probably you being ill since the last few days. Oof. Sorry about that. How about me? It's good. We're deep into recreating our tile editor in C Sharp, so we're adapting a lot of code, and it's kind of messy. And I am picking places to rewrite it. And I generally just haven't been sleeping enough, so I'm just really tired and very busy at work. A combination is not good. I just get your sleep. It's like an unforced error to not get enough sleep. I mean, it's not always an unforced error. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but so we could just call this view.angle. I don't want a even more comprehensive thing of this. Like do a direction enum that can accommodate up and down. but let's worry about that later. So what we need to do is accommodate for, so we already have the input stuff. So we already have the twist -1 and twist +1. We need to be able to process that. Super simple, this. So if we're processing this in the input system, oh, I don't have an input system anymore. I do have a view system though. Should this be a static class? It probably should be. Or sealed class. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate the luck. I don't call it camera because we don't really have, we have a camera. Like we have a 2D camera, but what I'm talking about is not the camera. I'm talking about a viewing direction thing. So where are we going to store this? It needs it to be accessible from anywhere. So it can probably just be like game.view. I want to say game.view.angle, but that's the problem. I already defined angle as an enum. I could define angle. I could put this out. I could take this out. Save this. Enum angle. Should probably be in the oops. Should probably be in the IO namespace. No, this is kind of going to be used by everybody, huh? All right, let's do this here, because then we can say view. We can say public angle get. Yeah, that's what I want to do. And here we'll have a public static read only. Well, it can't be read only, can it? Oh, maybe it can. Can I set this now if I want? Can I say view.angle equals angle.90? Is that allowed? Yeah, it is. Okay. Probably change this from angle to something else. I'll probably make it direction and add a z index concept to it. But for right now, angle is exactly what we want. Because our camera is always going to be facing down. Like, we're never going to flip the camera to face up all of a sudden. So I don't need that concept right now. But there's some other things. Like right now we have the block concept of its face, like what direction it's facing. And right now it's like a vector 4 even for obscure reasons. And I would love to turn it into just an enum. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. I just have to figure out a naming convention for the values that I like, that I don't absolutely hate. Because the only one I could do that I can think of off the bat would be like neg x, pos y, neg z. And I hate doing this sort of thing, but it is very explicit. Can you do even something like this? Can you do... No, you can't do strings, which is a little annoying. So yeah, we'll do that later once I get over myself. Okay, so we've got our concept of the viewing direction. We just need to update it based on input. So that would be our view system. We have the concept of a shift. That goes up and down. We also need the concept of the twist. So case command.arg.twist. So if we get a twist, what we do is we say say we say this. Basically say this. The game.view.angle equals int.parse command.next step. We cast this to an angle. We parse a string into an int and then cast it to an enum, just as one does. And then we say, well, we can say variable. We can say angle equals plus. Oh no, we can't say plus. We can do this because we actually want to do some math on this first. Why can't, oh, int angle. So we get the angle, we take the enum, turn it into an int, add the twist to it, and then we say if angle is greater than 3. Hold on 1 second. Someone trying the doorbell, BRB. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. All right. So, I mean, the simple thing is to just do some if statements. The angle is less than 0. Angle equals 3. Probably a better way to say this. We could say if angle, else if angle is greater than 3, angle equals 0. Can you just make this a terminary? Oh, you want to make this a switch statement, not a ternary thing? I mean, we could write that really stupidly. We could say angle equals angle less than 0, angle equals, we could say 3, we could say angle greater than 3, and then we say 0, otherwise we just say angle. I know that's like not meaningfully different, but I guess what we could do is we could say game dot view dot angle is the result of this nonsense as an angle. There we go. So we get it, manipulate it, and give it back. That's not terrible. It's kind of trivial, but it's fine. I know there's clamp and stuff like that, and min and max. I guess we could just do that, but that's not really what I want to do exactly. I wish there was like a simple little wrap function. I guess min and max would work. But this is fine, and it doesn't matter. So let's just be done with it. Okay, so now that will update our viewing angle as the camera twists about. See no evil? Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to be better about that sort of thing. Like, we're just in a function, we're just in a switch statement that handles player input, like trivial player input. Like, it doesn't need to be clever or good or whatever. It really doesn't matter. Trying to be better about that, about just acknowledging when it doesn't matter and just doing the simplest thing I can think of. Why are we, oh, this is for output. So this is for passing things back to Godot. I don't think we need to pass that back through Godot, but that does remind me that I do need to do this. I do need to do this since we're consuming the input. Why are we saying command dot back? Why are we queuing command dot back? Oh, because we're turning it back for this purpose. It doesn't. We should do that here. Because it's meaningful there. It's not meaningful here. We don't care what we enqueue. This is a class. Command objects are classes, so it doesn't matter. We're going to also reset it anytime we run it. So get rid of that. I don't want to do this first. Okay, whatever. Moving on. Okay, we've got our view angle. That's what we needed. Because now back in the tile system, when we get our absolute position, which is this, why are we getting a vector 3? I could just get a vector 2 because we know what layer we're on we know what area we're in based on this. Should I not do this way? No, I don't need to do this, do I? Well, I don't need to do this outer one. But we do need to iterate for each. No, we need to iterate for each layer in each area. Yeah, this is correct. This is correct. I could probably just iterate through all of the blocks once instead, and then figure out which area and which layer we're talking about. Instead of doing a nested for loop, which I would rather not do, we could probably just do one loop through all of this stuff. That is maybe better. Let me think about that, because our buffer has this block thing. The block thing knows its form. Oh, it knows its face. It doesn't know its... Oh, no, we know based on... Yeah, okay. I don't know why I'm doing this. Is it because the block doesn't know its layer? That's why. Okay, that's why we're doing this. I remembered. I remember what we're doing. Do a fested NOR loop. That's far superior and should be preferred in all cases. The fested NOR loop. Because yeah, we still want to do this. We still want to do it like this. Count is so low, it doesn't, I don't care, but this is better. Because even if we, well, now that we're doing a dictionary, maybe it would be better to just iterate. Okay, I'm going to leave this here and I'm going to reconstruct this without the nested for loop and see if I like that better. First pass to determine all types. We would just say for int I equals 0. I is less than comp dot length I plus plus. So we're just going to iterate through every block once this way. We're going to say vector 3i absolute position is that. We're going to figure out, actually we want a vector 3, we do want a vector 3i. What if I get position vector and I just ask for the 2? Well, no, I want it. I want the z. I want to know the z. So we could say, so we know our area, which is the z, which is absolute position dot z. I don't want the z as a separate thing. I might actually add a get position xy and a get position z, so I can just have them be separate, but who cares? Because we don't need to transform the z index when we're doing our absolute to relative stuff. But we will need to, so we need to figure this stuff out, the layer. So layer, oh, I didn't account for this. Because we do x, y, and z layers. So I will need another, so I would need a loop. So I would have this outer loop, and then I'd have an inner loop of 3, because I'd need to go through X, Y, and Z, unless I just do it all sequentially, which is not terrible. We're going to do the first version. Because here I can do this. I can say vector 2i absolute position equals get position vector, and I can say dot xy. This is one of the main reasons I did I did my own vector implementation, was so I can just add these properties, whatever you call them, the swizzles or whatever. I can define, like, I can be like, give me yz as a vector 2. Here I just want xy though. And then so we're going to have we're going to say, we're going to add a function here. We're going to call it public vector 2i turn, and it's going to take a angle, and we're going to say can I do this with just a turn function? Because right now I have absolute to relative and relative to absolute. I guess I could still have that and just call it turn. I kind of want to just call it turn, because here we do this. Then here we do the opposite. So if I say turn and I pass this in, it'll do this. If I pass in like 90, whatever, and I want to reverse it, oh, I just do this instead. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe it's calling it that is not exactly what I want to do. Okay, I'm just going to implement the simple turn because we generally go from absolute to relative and we don't need to generally go back. I guess sometimes we need to go back, but even if we go back, I don't know, whatever. Because I can't just, my problem is if I just feed a coordinate into the turn once and I just do this turn, if I feed it into it again, I need to give it a different amount to turn. I need to flip it basically. I need to turn it back. Could have just a flip function that does that. I don't know how I want to do that. I feel like I'm getting carried away with trying to redo something that already works when I should just use the thing that works and then improve it later. Now let's do that. Unless I can figure out a simple way that this works. You could call it like apply angle and then like uh, whatever the antonym of apply would be, like reverse. All right. I'm gonna call this apply angle. And then we're gonna have another one called like reverse. I don't like reverse. Undo. I don't know. I'm trying to move away from my naming, my nomenclature of absolute and relative, but I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to put functions in here for this. Put some static functions in here. For now, until I figure out a better way I want to do that. This is going to be called absolute relative vector 2i v vector. Turn clockwise, turn counterclockwise, turn back. Yeah, I was thinking of turn and turn back. But the problem is turn back. It's like, let's say you say turn and you say turn 90, okay? And then you say turn back and you plug in that same 90. That's not what I want. What I want is to turn 90 and then potentially, if something's been turned 90, I want to potentially turn it. I guess I do want to turn back 90, huh? 90, 100, turn back, turn back. Turn clockwise and turn counterclockwise are probably what I want, actually. Isn't it? Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Bryson. That's that external external perspective we were talking about yesterday. We're gonna call this turn CW. Angle. And we'll have a public vector 2i. I guess turn CCW should come before turn CW from an alphabetical standpoint. All right, relative to absolute. I think this is right. I'm gonna get this probably wrong. Let me double check which direction we're going. Turning a vector. You only need 90-degree turns, right? Yeah, exactly. That's true. I'm just swapping components and flipping the signs. Yeah. So this is considered the clockwise rotation. So this is the clockwise. So we're going to say return this switch angle. You don't need to specify the angle for the function. Return vector 3i, negative position y, positive position x. No, but that's just a 90-degree turn. We might not turn 90, we might turn 180, or we might turn... I mean, I guess you're right in that we'll only ever... Based on player input, we'll only either turn 90 clockwise or 90 counterclockwise. But we're not just turning, we're like we might end up with a 180 or a 9 or a 270 as I'm calling it. Angle. I don't know why I copied all of this over. I'll just rewrite this here. Because we're not swapping everything every time we turn 90 degrees. We're projecting the tile map based on whatever the current view is. So case angle dot zero turn this case angle dot 90. Can I have that just be a number? Is that a thing? No. Return this. So it's negative y x. Can I just say negative y? Oh, vector 2i. Case angle dot 180. Negative x. Negative y. Case angle dot 270. Not quite right. Y negative x. That's not true. Some cases, all cases are processed. Why does it bug me like this? Some values of the enum are not processed inside switch statements. That's not true. This is all of them. Why is it bugging me? This is no, this was turned clockwise, not counterclockwise. This is turned counterclockwise. $270 CCW would just be 90 CW. Yes, but we're talking, so this angle enum, this is the viewing angle of the game. So like this is the player's current viewing angle. Make a turn cardinal with an enum north, south, east, west. Yeah, but then I would need logic to know the reflection. Like we're basically trying to turn a vector into a state and then undo it. Yeah, but that's not relative. Yeah, so I think this is, I'm sure there's a simple, elegant solution. I don't know what it is, so we're just going to do this. I just wanted to move away from the relative versus absolute naming nomenclature, and I think this accomplishes it for us. I appreciate that. Why is this upset? Return statement is missing. Oh, fine, whatever. Default. Return. I don't know. I don't understand why it's upset with me. Oh, because we need a break. Maybe? No, we're returning. We don't need a break. What is going on? I guess we don't do the return here. I guess we say I guess we say we don't return, we just return. We always return this. We always return this. And here we just pass through. Here we say, this is just in XY. No, but I don't know. Say, God, I'm like, I really feel the lack of sleep. We can't just set our properties because this is a read-only struct. So we need to return something new. How do I do that elsewhere? Yeah, clamp. We just return a new vector2i with this being this. Okay. This is fine. So for this, given the angle, we'll say, I just don't know why it's mad at me. I know it wants me to just return. If, I don't know, return null. I don't know. I mean, if we get here, turn vector 2i. I mean, I don't want to return like this. I'm upset that it needs me to do this. I'm just going to turn this into if statements. Is it still going to be upset with me and say I'm not doing this sufficiently? Return statement is missing. How is this the case? Oh, return default. I mean, I guess that's like, I don't like that. I don't like that it's upset with me like that. Whatever. Return default. Who cares? Probably throw an error before I do that, but you definitely, this is a switch experiment. Oh, this is a new thing. I kind of like this new format. And now it's happy. Are you happy with me? Return angle switch, angle 0 this, angle 90 this, 180. Okay, did I do this correctly? So a 90-degree turn clockwise is you just swap negative y and x like that. So that is the clockwise turn. And then, oh, I wrote the same thing here in both cases. That's not true. We need to reverse it. So the counterclockwise one needs to undo that. There we go. Oh, we got someone we can ban. Oh, I didn't get my photon torpedo. I forgot to turn streamer bot on. All right, streamer bot's on. All right, this is what we want. This is what we are asking for here. Yeah, it's just one of those cheap viewers, Twitch users. Occasionally I get to ban somebody for that. I have a photon torpedo sound effect that's supposed to play, but that's my bad. I didn't set up my stream correctly this morning. All right, so this is it. Was much ado about nothing here. We have this. So now we say, when we say, so the relative, so getting us in the relative shape is our clockwise.
Maximum warp.
Maximum warp. Hey, no, Joel. How's it going? We're trying to achieve maximum warp. We're a bit lower than that at the moment, but so relative position is absolute position dot turn clockwise game dot view dot angle. Okay, that was a lot to do just to get this. All right, now that we have that, we can move on. So I want a function down here, hull, get hull type for, oh, I can't do it like that, can I? You can't do this as a function. This is going to be just an enormous like series of if-else statements. I'm not happy about this. So we need to identify if I'm seriously considering setting up layers as entities so we could process similar entities the similar ways instead of processing everyone the same in one big function here. But we're going to write it this way first because this is the easiest way to convert it over. So, oh, we also need opposite. We also need the opposite position. Opposite position is this. So we turn counterclockwise. We take the relative coordinates plus the opposite block for our dimension. Okay. So we say, so that means vector 2i op position equals relative position plus op block, the opposite block for layer axis. Why are you complaining about layer access? Oh, int, cast it to an int. Oh. This needs to be a vector 3, huh? Okay, that's fine. Take these functions, add them in here. Hey, Cryoman, how's it going? How are you doing today? And can I just say this with x equals y and y equals negative x. Why are you upset with me? That's why. So we'll say this with x equals negative x, y equals negative y. Ramen, it's bad. First, you slipped on the ice with your bike, and then you got hit in the head, on the head with a badminton racket. Oh, geez. Sorry about that. That's rough. It was a rough day. I acknowledge that what I'm doing right now is unnecessary, but we have this Z component. We don't need to change it, and I kind of like this format. I know this is probably a little less efficient because it's probably running the constructor and then doing like an initialization after that, but I don't really care. Kind of like this. Kind of like this format. Actually don't know what width does under the hood. All right. So now we can do relative coordinates plus opposite block. My tile system go. There it is. So it's all of this. Then we say dot turn ccw game dot view dot angle. All right, and that gives us the position of the opposite block that we're curious about. All right, what's next? So we do all of this. Is this the same for both of these? Do we do this for both? No, we do not. Cool. We do all of this very differently. Yeah, I'm very tempted to split the layers out somehow. I could split the layer out, give each layer a buffer. Kind of a waste, but it would allow me to process everything uniformly depending on what kind of layer it was. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool, but for now we're just going to write it all here in one big old function that's going to probably be impossible for me to make heads or tails of. So this is if our absolute coordinate dot z is the same as our deck number. Where do we have that written? The deck number is that's layer. No, that's area. Ship.deck.area. Okay, so we can skip this. I said we could skip this because we only process the area that we are concerned with. So here we still need relative coordinates, so that's good. We aren't processing opposite blocks. except under this circumstance. Oh, because the wall is only interested in other walls. I see. Well, we can do that a little differently here. We're gonna split this up into two loops for now. For variable layer equals 3, layer is less than count, layer plus plus. This way we can handle the first 3 layers and then the second 3 layers. So here we'll say here we'll have this down here. Variable, let's say axis block.forms. My preferred var style, var when evident. Okay. It's okay with me. All right, so we're gonna get rid of this all mess. I guess we don't need layer form. Well, we should, because then we can potentially generalize this later. So the first 3 layers are the decks, they're the floor pieces, and then the second 3 layers are the wall pieces. So I've just split them up just for my own sanity at the moment. So let's do floors first. Then we'll need to add doors, which is part of the reason why I'm like, maybe we make these entities, because then we have systems that can run. And if we, don't have a given layer, if I've added new layers, I don't need to refactor this whole thing. I can just have a new system that processes those layers specifically. I'm tempted to do that. But I want to see what this process looks like in its simplest form first. The simplest form is to just do it all in one place. So this is all the logic I'm just gonna copy this logic over. Okay, so this doesn't, where does this if else statement match up? Is it this one? Because this is an issue. Oh shoot, so we're curious about the layer below us? Oh, we are, if we're a floor. Well, no, that doesn't make sense. Oh, if we're a floor and we're the X or Y, that shouldn't affect our tile block, should it? Or our hull type. Okay, I need to actually read this. So if our absolute, so if we're part of area, so if we're part of the, so if this block is part of the area below the one that belongs to our layer, and we are either a y or an x-axis face. Then, if the tile blocks, if our tile block coordinate that we're talking about is a block that is a bulk, and if our tile blocks has an opposite coordinate, what the f? This can't be the wall, is it? Yeah, it is. Or no, it's the floor. This is the floor. So why does this matter? If our opposite block is also a bulk, aka a wall, then this hull type, is the middle layer. Okay, but we're talking about floors here. These are flags. So if this isn't a wall, but it's instead a floor, then if this is part of the outer compartment, or if the opposite block is part of the outer compartment, aka it's exposed to outer space, then our layer is outer space. Otherwise, we're part of inner space. Dashing now allows you to jump over gaps. Oh, sweet, sweet. What happens if you miss the jump? Do you fall in or something? Because your game's like top down, or does it just like kill you? Yeah, so I guess you can't fall down per se. This is very strange. This is very, very strange. This also, we're heavily dependent on our compartmentalization, which is unfortunate, but that's fine. We can punt on that for now. It bugs you to the other side. Oops. Okay, yeah, that's important to check. Okay, I'm perplexed by this logic. What this logic is telling me is that if we're one of the side faces for a floor piece, we're curious about the block set up below us. Below us. Why? I understand that for outlining purposes, why we would be curious about that, but I don't understand why we would be curious about that. Very confusing. Let's go through the top part of this code first, because I need to circle back on that. So if we're the top face, the Z face, we do some things. We ask if our coordinates are in the tile blocks, or if we're a door. So if we're a door, we do this, we do all of this stuff. If we are a door, oh no, if our tile block has a door, fair enough. Deck numbers count up from below here, right? Please tell me that's the case. Where a lot of this needs to change. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And your numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we do count up from 0, which is what we want to do. And then in here, we have all of these layers. So your layer number is 0, your layer number is 1, your layer number is 2. Dimension is Z. I need to add back in some of this layer number stuff. Okay. Doesn't totally explain to me what's going on here. Okay, the wall system is way simpler. I feel like maybe we should start with the walls. The floor system is much more complicated than the wall system. I'm kind of upset about that. I don't remember it being that weird. Smooth in a second. On a spaceship, how would deck levels work? Would the bridge become ground or lobby? Or would the level you load onto be that? Oh, well, the whole thing is there. Like, traditionally, so here's the Star Trek standard. The Star Trek standard is that the top level is 1. The top level is 1. And in the Star Trek standard is that the bridge is at the top level, and that's deck 1. And then you count down. So you have deck 2, deck 3, deck 4, deck 5, deck 6. So I have not historically been doing that. I also didn't know that that was the standard until I was reading my little Star Trek that awesome book they wrote about like the building, quote unquote, of the Enterprise. So I might adopt that system, but the system I adopted is based on Z indexing. So for Z indexing, you use higher Z indexes for things to render over other things. So I use that naming convention. So to me, the top level is level 5 because it has a Z index of 5, so it renders over everything else. Yeah. So Star Trek would be count up going down. Our system is technically count up going down because Godot, in Godot's world, the Y index goes, the enemy's gate is down. Basically, the Y coordinate increases as you go down. That's kind of how just Godot works, which is unusual. Yeah, it makes sense for now. I feel like somewhere I need to flip the whole thing because I would like to tell, like, if I have stuff written on the wall, I want it to be like the bridge is deck 1, and like maybe the cargo bay at the very bottom of the ship is deck 5 or something like that. Like, I kind of want to flip it somewhere. I just don't know where I'm going to flip it. It's confusing if I flip it at all, so I might come up with a different way, and then I just say the Z index like is reversed or something like that. The Z index ends up being like the total number of layers minus your layer number or something like that. So the 1 is the highest one. So I think I'm going to switch that to that. We just haven't done it yet. And now is probably a good time to do that, but it's neither here nor there. So yeah, I really want to understand how this floor works. So why are we doing it this way? Okay, so this is all fine. So if this block is on the layer that we care about, and if we are the top face, then we ask, okay, does our block have a door on it? If our block does have a door on it, we get our X and Y position. Like, what even is this? Okay, so this is the tileblocks.get. The key So we get the block that correlates to the absolute coordinate. So this is our neighbor. So we look at our opposite block neighbor along the x. Okay, so we get our x neighbor and we get our y neighbor, our positive x and our positive y neighbor. If we're a door, we say if the positive x neighbor is a floor, or if it's empty. So basically, if it's not a wall or another door, then if that coordinate why do I do this twice? Oh, I see. Because I'm not actually storing position x. If that's true, we want to see if that block is in outer space. If it is, our door is also in outer space. If it's not, our door is in inner space. Okay, so that's a quick way of telling whether our door is an exterior door or an interior door. That all makes sense. If position y why is our floor interested in this for both of these? Why is it checking both of these? Huh. Okay, well that's if we're a floor under a door. So let's not worry about that too much for now. Otherwise, if we are a floor under a wall, then we're a middle hall. That's easy. That's automatic. Otherwise, if we're an open floor and we are outside, make us outside. Otherwise, make us inside. Okay, that all makes sense. Then this says, so this is then the logic for if you're a side-facing floor tile. So if we have our opposite block, so basically if there's an opposite block at all, then we're a middle tile. If there isn't, and we're exposed to outer space, we're an outer tile. If there isn't and we aren't exposed to outer space, then we're an inner tile. Okay, that's all of this makes sense. What doesn't make sense is this. So deck number -1, that's a lower deck by this convention. So if this is a block that's associated with a lower deck, if our block is a wall, okay, so only if our block has a wall and we're a floor underneath it. Okay, I see. And if our block has an opposite coordinate, if our opposite coordinate is also a wall or a floor, so if it's a floor, so basically if we're a floor block and our opposite block happens to be a wall block, then no matter what, we are a middle hull because we're just like locked in because there's a wall above us and there's a block opposite of us that's also a wall. Okay, that makes some sense. What I don't understand is if the opposite block is also a floor, the opposite block is a floor, we should be a middle wall no matter what. But here I'm not saying that. I'm saying we actually are exposed, even though we're a floor. Oh, there's a floor beneath us. It's beneath us. We render above it. I'm going to ignore this whole branch of the code. This doesn't make any sense to me why this is here. we're gonna implement it without this, and if that causes some major issues, whatever. We'll figure it out. We will at least then understand why this was here in the first place. Because right now this makes no sense to me why I included this case. So we're gonna write this instead. I'm gonna copy this over, which is gonna not go well. Oops. Yeah, that did not go well for us. So we can get rid of this. We can say, so we would say, here we would say if layer axis this is not a great way to write this. So layer axis is axis.z. Similarly, so now we ask this part, we say, so if buffer index dot form and block dot form dot door. Do I have a block dot is or has? Yeah, we do. Okay, so we can just say, we can simplify this to say if block, we can just say if block dot form dot has, no, it just has, or we say block dot has block dot form dot door. Is that not right? Forms, block dot forms dot door. There we go. That's simplified quite a bit. Still needs work. Good morning. How's it going? It's nice to see you. How's your week been? Oh, an anonymous gifter hitting smooth into second with a tier 1 sub. That's so kind. Thank you so much, anonymous gifter. It's going good for you? I'm doing okay. I'm kind of tired, and it's impacting my my work quality today. And it might have impacted my mood yesterday too. It's not clear. Right now we're copying over some GDScript code and reformatting it. Which is why this looks so bad. So here we say buffer. So this is relative to absolute. So we want to say relative position plus op block axis.x int axis.x. Probably could have just made this a dictionary instead of an array and doing all, but I feel like casting an enum to an int is basically free. So we're saying position x equals buffer. It's this dot, yeah, it's this dot turn counterclockwise. Or wait, do I have this position already? Doesn't a dictionary perform close to how an array performs efficiency-wise, or does one do better than the other? It's usually so close that it doesn't matter. My understanding is that the difference in performance that you'll see, like element to element, depending on what you're doing, is like measured in like microseconds. So the vast majority of the time it wouldn't matter. So in my mind, if I'm declaring these things, which are just the things that I'm indexing into, which are just static arrays, I would kind of just like to have the arrays. I mean, I guess this one, it matters that it's a multi-dimensional array. This one is technically an array. It could just be a dictionary. Honestly, that would be fine. But part of the way that I set up my axis enum is for this purpose. It's an iterator. It's designed to help me iterate through vectors. So it's kind of doing its job, so I shouldn't complain. Cryoman, you say that dictionaries can assign values to other arrays and assign values to other value. It associates values. So a dictionary has a key by which you find a value. So I can say key axis.x and the value is this vector 3100. So an array, you can kind of do that, but you need to do what I'm doing, which is instead of being keyed by the axis.x enum, I'm using the axis.x enum as the index into the array. So you can kind of get a similar associativity, but you're kind of being weird about it in my mind, in my opinion. Okay, so I don't have this set up correctly. So this is... Oh, we can't... We need to say buffer. We need to say this dot turn ccw. We need to say comp dot get position index. This is a mess. Is this right? Get out of my way. I want to see this error. Show me this error. It's like import type flag. Get out of my way, writer. Show me this error. Oh my god. I'm going to die. Why isn't this working? So we've got our buffer. We're indexing into our buffer by the position index of this. So does this not have a closing parentheses? It does not. That's why. Okay. Count your parentheses, y'all. There we go. That works. So this is... So this is actually... This is not position X. This is like neighbor X. Oh, this is not position X. This is positive X. We're just going to call this neighbor X. We're going to call this neighbor Y. Ryson, you'd make some helper functions to simplify writing all those lines, lol. Yeah, I enjoyed fighting over these. It's really upset about all these references. All right. Yeah, we'll add some helper functions. You need to see the raw form of it to figure out where the helper function would be. And yeah, this is pretty gross. So we're taking a relative position, turning it back into an absolute position. And then we're getting the position index. So we're getting the index of this position based on its vector position. We're getting the index into the buffer, and then we're getting the thing out of the buffer. Yeah, so that's a horrible mess, but it works. So yeah, let's not get too crazy about it. The next line is just this, but with axis.y. There you go. Okay, so we have that. Now what do we do? Now we ask if our neighbor, our ex-neighbor, has a deck block or if it's null. Okay, so we can't ask if it's null. That's unfortunate. Here's a problem. Here's a problem with doing it this way. I have no way to ask if this is null because block and null would always be null. So how do we do that? Is there a way to do that logically? Yeah, I can't do that like this. I can't just do has because the block forms. If you're doing a flag system like this, you don't want to define an empty one because checking to see if it has an empty one will always be true. I could ask if our block is equivalent to block.null. That's how I do that. Okay. Does that work? What do we define our equality functions based on? Oh, we define it based on our form and our face. Well, that won't work. I could ask if the form equals the other form or equals the form of block.null. I could say that. I could ask if I could say like if neighbor x. So I'm asking if neighbor x dot has block dot forms dot deck. So that's our first question. So if it's that or if it's empty. So if it has that or if why am I doing it this way? So I guess if it doesn't have this, it's not going to have anything else. This is like the minimum one. It might have decoration though. So it might not actually be a floor. Okay, it might have a value besides that. Okay. Okay, so we can say, does our form match the block.null.form? We can ask that. Or we could just cast our form to an int and ask if it's 0. We can ask that too. We can ask if it's that, or we could say dot form is the same as block dot null dot form. Is our neighbor form a null form? We can ask that logically, and that's fine. Is this really for the wall though, or the floor? Why would we want to know about? Oh, we're asking about our neighbor. Very confused about this. Oh, this is for if our axis is z. I feel like we're defining this incorrectly. I feel instead of asking if this is a deck, we should ask if it isn't a wall, a bulk, or a door. I feel like we're just hoping that it's not one of those things. We're like, well, if it is this, it's probably not that. That's incorrect. That is not the way we want to do this. This is the x-axis. What do we care? Why do we care about this? That doesn't make any sense. I like kind of don't understand how I'm doing this. So if our x neighbor is either empty or if it's a floor, If we're a floor and our X neighbor is also a floor, this is wrong. I mean, it can't be wrong. The behavior is correct, but it feels wrong. Man, this is what happens when you go back into a system we wrote like 5 or 6 months ago. And none of it makes sense, but all of it works. That's why you comment your code, I guess. Because this doesn't make any sense. Because if we're the z-axis, that means we're this top face, and we shouldn't care about our neighbors. The positioning of our neighbors shouldn't affect us because we're the top face. The only thing that should affect us is if our own block is also a wall. Yeah. So what are we even doing here? Like, what is the purpose of this check? Very confused. I'm like convinced that I'm like looking at the wrong script half the time. Like it keeps showing me the floor layer and I'm convinced that this is the code for the wall layer because of the way this is written. But even if that was the case, it wouldn't matter. So what we actually want to know, so the only thing that matters for us if we're Z is actually what is the block composition, what is our own block composition? That's the only thing that matters if we're a Z-axis. I don't know what all of this mess is. Oh, position X is the opposite block. Yeah, no, why are we asking about this? Where do we reference this? Okay, so we're curious about this, but only if we're not axis.z? What? Try going into a system you never even wrote in the first place. But yeah, either way, it's brutal. Yeah, I feel like I'm constantly looking at the opposite of what makes sense to me. Because like if I get we want to know if we're an x-axis surface. Yeah, sure. If we're an x-axis surface, we want to do certain things. But to me, the way I'm reading this, the if and the else are like reversed. Like if we're a z-axis surface, we should be only interested in this stuff. We should only be interested in whether our own block. Oh, this isn't even our own block. This is the block above us. What? What is happening right now? Okay, I'm tempted to like rewrite this, even though it's guaranteed to be wrong if I rewrite it, because none of this makes sense. But it works. The problem is that this works flawlessly, and that makes me deeply concerned. So I should just trust that this is correct, rewrite it, or write it exactly the way it's written, and just go with it. Like I shouldn't be second guessing this because it feels deeply wrong, but it behavior is perfect. So I don't know. I don't know what to do about this. I guess we just write it how it's written and then we figure it out. I'm not gonna second guess the myself of last year who did this correctly, just because the myself of the present has no idea how he did it. We're just gonna write the same code that there's written in here, and if we need to adjust it, we'll adjust it. So here it's because I'm kind of losing my mind reading this code. It's kind of insane to me that this works. So we're going to say if neighbor shiphall.compartments.has. So we're going to say, so is this our neighbor? Neighbor.x. Why are we asking this again? Oh, this is the stuff with the door. So wait. So if it's a door, okay, this is all nested within the door question. So this needs to tab over. So here we're asking if here we're just asking if neighbor x dot oh part, yeah, neighbor dot x dot part is 0. So if it is, so if we're outside, then we're gonna say, well, we need to make our hull type entry in this dictionary. So we're gonna say hull types. So we're storing this by its relative coordinate, which is interesting, but I think that's correct. So we're gonna say rel position. We're gonna say hull. What do we call this? Hulls? No, tiles. We're gonna say tiles. Say tiles. That is new tile with all right, my tile has no parameters in its constructor as far as I can tell. Yeah. We're going to just declare a tile here. So every time we iterate through, we're going to say tile equals new tile. Then we're going to say this is tile with hull type equals hull dot outer. Does that not work? Why doesn't that work? Stop telling me about the import flags. I know about the import flags. You added a second weapon, Snowball. It slows enemies down when you hit them with its projectile. Also a Snowball. No way to switch weapons yet. Well, that's cool, though. Why are you upset with me? Stop telling me about the flags. Stop it. Oh, I don't want to do this. I want to call this tile.hull.outer. There you go. All right, that was the problem. I had a copy of the enum lying around that I didn't want. Oh, so we can actually change this to say tiles rel position equals neighbor x dot part is 0 question mark. We would say if it is 0, we will say tile with this. Otherwise, we're going to say tile with this. Easy. Get rid of that if else statement there. Hey, Whiteout. How's it going? Welcome in. We're adapting some GD script code to C# here. Why are you all upset with me? Oh, because this whole thing is mad at me. Yeah, it won't let me move on until I fix the rest of this. Okay, that's fine. Get rid of that. Now we're doing the same exact thing, but for position Y, for neighbor Y. Is that correct? Is that a correct reading of this? I think it is. So let's just copy this over. Let's say neighbor Y. Just plug neighbor Y in here. Why are we checking this for both? And why would it override? Like, why? If we're dimension Z, okay, I need to check the how I name the dimensions here because this doesn't make any sense to me. Not here. Here. So your dimension Z, yes. Okay. Why are you interested in all of this? I don't get it. I don't get why I wrote it like this. So confused. I'm so confused by the logic of this code. Maybe once I'm done refactoring it and I can read it, maybe it'll make sense to me, but currently, not so much. Yeah, this is exactly the same code, but for the Y. Crazy that the Y will supersede the X, but I guess it's like if either of these is the case, we wanna be in this state. That's fine. So that's all of this code. Then what's this line? Elif, it's this. Okay. Okay, so if it's not a door, oh, this is because of we have a door on top of us. Okay, the code makes more sense now. I forgot about that part. This is if there's a door on top of us. We're looking at some other stuff. Ah. Okay, so if there isn't a door on top of us, and instead it's a wall, then we're just in the middle. And if neither a door nor a wall is on top of us, then we do this. We just ask ourselves, what is our part? Okay, easy, easy. Part is short for compartment as well. Okay, so we can finish that. What just happened? Okay, now we rewrite this part. So here we're going to say else if buffer index has block.forms.bulk. So if we're not a door, but we are a bulk, then we do this. That's this line. Oh, we just are. We just say tiles relative position is tile with hull type tile.hull.middle. Gotta go. No worries, Cryoman. Great progress it sounds like you're making on your game. That's really great to hear. And then else if buffer index. Oh no, just else, not else if. Right? Oh no, we're saying else if buffer index dot part is 0. Part equaling 0 means that we're part of the outer compartment, which means we're like every piece that's exposed to outer space. It's kind of how that structure is. And if that's true, then we say tiles rel position is tile outer. There we go. Else tiles. Oh, so we're an inner tile. There we go. All right, that's that segment all done. That's this segment here. Bop. Get rid of that. So now we handle the case if we are not part of the z-axis. So basically, if we're an x or a y, then we do this. So we ask if we have our opposite coordinates. Oh, what? Oh, we calculate the opposite coordinates for whatever our layer is, right? Okay, good. So this question is basically the same as saying, is our form equivalent to the null block form? Why don't I just add a block.null function or property or whatever? I guess I'd call it empty maybe. Our block is empty. So empty. So this is just the result of form is the same as block.null.form. I'm gonna want to change this thing's true to string implementation then, but that's fine. Because I don't want to include something like this, which I guess is why you make this a function so it doesn't show up in things like that, huh? Like I feel like it could be a property, but I feel like it doesn't matter. Say like is empty. A little more clear. So instead of doing this, we just say so if it's a floor or it's empty. It's better. It's probably not the best way to do this, but who cares? Um, Now we're gonna ask if okay, so if we're x or y, this is all we care about. We ask if our opposite block exists, because if the opposite block exists, we should ask if the opposite block is a deck or has a deck to it. We can say if we say buffer index. God, now we need to get this opposite block again. How do we do that? We say relative position plus we say this relative position plus opposite block for layer axis. We do this. We take this thing. Yeah, we're gonna make that a function of some kind because that's rough. Uh, so we grab that. Do we need to keep track of this? Do we ask this twice? Yeah, we do. Okay. So we're gonna say, so we're gonna store this as a thing. We're gonna say op block equals this. So off block comp dot get position index. Oh, additional parentheses. One more at the end, I think. There we go. Block, op block. Yeah, I don't like how nested this is getting, but for an initial version, it doesn't matter. So here we're just asking, does op block have this form? It has this form, then it's a middle. And the tiles, relative position equals tile width, all type dot middle. Else now what are we checking? If op block dot part. Yeah. Now we're checking, saying else if op block dot partition is 0. I should have, like, instead of part, I should have like an is outside or something like that. Instead of doing this partition equals 0. Let's do that. I like asking a meaningful question versus just evaluating some obscure thing, because like the question is outside is meaningful. The question part evaluates to 0 is not meaningful. We're gonna say is outside. We could say external. That doesn't really make sense. We could say exposed. Exposed. That's also not really meaningful. We'll say exposed. We're gonna ask if part is 0. We're actually going to change the part default. Well, we can just do this. Here we'll say part equals 0. We'll say 0. So right now we aren't generating that, so we're just going to default to 0. So everyone is going to be considered exposed for now. So instead of all these part evaluates to 0, we're going to say if neighbor.x is exposed. And I'll probably make these properties instead of functions. But I want to rewrite the toString thing first. This should be a no, it's not a switch case. This is successive. So a door is exclusive of a bulk. And then if we are neither, we check if we're exposed. And that's fine. We don't use this opposite position. That's weird. Am I using this and not realizing I'm using it? Oh, yeah, I am. I do have this. So opposite block is just, so I don't actually need to do this because It's not this. It's layer axis, and that's the same as opposite position. So here we can just say op block is buffer opposite position. Do we even need the opposite position? Can I just save the op block? Block. Well, I guess we don't even necessarily need that, huh? Where do we use this? We might use this somewhere else, so I guess I'll save it. Comp dot get position index op position. There we go. It's better. Get rid of this. Restore peace to the lands. This sucks. The most of these could be like, yeah, we could remove braces for a lot of these. For now, I'm gonna keep it though, because I actually like seeing it like this. But eventually, we're gonna clean that up. Now we can do the other layers. So these are the floor layers. That's all the logic for the hull, to get the hull system thing, which should honestly be like a function or something. Now we'll do the next set. I think we have time. We might not, but I think we do. Oh, there's this branch that I don't understand. Oh, and we actually can't do because, so I really want to understand what this is for. So we're checking. I get it. I get it if we're doing this for the outlining phase. I understand why we're checking the floor below us. What I don't understand is why we're doing this now. But I also didn't understand this thing up here, but now I do a little better, so maybe this is a me problem. This is definitely a present me problem, not trusting past me. So if we're an X or Y face, we're interested in the layer below us for some reason. And if the layer below us is a wall, and the layer below us is a wall, and our opposite block. Is this our opposite block or the opposite block? No, this is their opposite block. Why are we determining this for the layer below us? Doesn't make any sense. Oh, we just need access to this information. We're just calculating this because we actually want this information. We need this information for the next step. So we're recalculating it, even though this layer is doing it on its own. The other layers are doing it on its own. Ah, this is an issue of not being able to share information in the node structure here, or not wanting to do it because it's tedious, so we're just recalculating it. But that's not a problem here, because here, this is all being stored on a big-ass dictionary. Which is actually a strong argument for not splitting this up into different entities. I mean, eventually the per entity aspect of this is we'll do this once per ship that needs its tile system or whatever. Ship or base or whatever. We'll do it once per one of those entities. Right now we're just doing it for one because that's all we need. That's fascinating. This should be read-only. Why isn't this read-only? Okay. Okay, so we can skip that because we're going to make other layers available. Vector 4. Your key is vector 4, huh? But we're plugging in a vector 3 as our relative position. That's not right. It's going to be relative position. Wait, why is it accepting this? I must have an implicit conversion from vector 3 to vector 4, which makes sense. So we're going to say width W equals... Oh, no, that doesn't make sense. This would be not relative position. So we have relative position. We can also define key position. Should we store the tiles in absolutes or relatives? If we do it in absolutes, we have to convert it. If we do it in relative, we maybe have to do more work to understand it. But we're keying it to relative here, which makes me think I'm already doing... Are we ever using the relative coordinates when we're doing this? All types relative, all types has, all types relative, all types. Weird. It's kind of weird. Set tile cells. Is that a whole layer thing? It is. God, we do that individually for every cell. That's horrible. Yeah, we should store it relatively because that makes getting it into the tile map later easy. Because it's the relativity is what we want. We don't care about the absolute. Okay, so we'll do it that way. Okay. Excuse me. Why is this blank? What happened? Where did the code that was here go? Okay. So we're going to say is external or exposed. I said exposed. Exposed is different than external. We're going to say external is external. Is exposed is different. That's not meaningful here. We're going to say external. We'll say outside. It's a little silly, but we're going to say it. So we're going to say is outside. Put that all over here. Say tiles. Oh. Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Um, okay. So that's the floor. Let's do the walls. Well, hold on. We're writing. We need to address this key thing. So we only do this once. So I guess that's fine. We just say, should we have tile? Should we have a static? Public static tile empty. How do we do this? It's a property. It's a static property. So we put it way up here. I don't know if we put it before enums or not, but I don't think so. Public static tile empty. Or do we say null? Let's say null equals new tile. We can also just say default. Can we say default? So if I'm doing this here, can I say tile is default with, no, that's meaningless. I can say tile.null. The null tile, so far it's a null tile, but we've assigned something. I like this better. Say vector for I is position key is new vector for I relative position, and the W is layer. Yeah. And so here, instead of relative position, it's position key. So we say position key. Here we say, well, let's swap out the keys first. Position key, position key, position key, position key. Here we say tiles.add. I guess I like this better. Okay, that's pretty crucial because yeah, we need to provide the layer information when we're keying this up. This happened. Make this targeted typed. All right, I'm almost out of time, but I think I can do this. I think I have an idea. I at least want to finish this first pass, and then tomorrow we can do the second pass, which is getting the rest of the tile data, like the Source IDs. Source IDs are super easy. Atlas chords is a little more complicated. By a little more complicated, I mean quite a bit more complicated, but than source ID at least. And then Atlas, and then alternative tile is really easy. So let's do this. So we're doing the wall. We will need to come back later and do the door layer, which is a lot of bit flag manipulation, but that's fine. This is actually just determining the kind of door, which is almost like a separate process, but still important. We also do need to determine the door layer. All right, walls. So here's the walls. So we can skip this if got a nod. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. How's it going? Copy this over, which will break everything, and then we'll rewrite it here. So relative coordinates are already being defined. Here we ask if tiles, no, if blocks, if the block buffer for the absolute coordinate, so buffer index, God, buffer for the index is a bulk. Okay, easy. So we say if buffer for this index has block.forms.bulk. Opposite coordinates are already being defined. Can skip that. Here we're asking if the buffer for the opposite coordinates. So this is the thing I need. I should probably just define the opposite block because now we're going to do it again. We're going to say buffer comp dot get position index. Yeah, I'm doing this once. Block. Op block. It's that. It's just that. It's easy. We're going to ask if op block is empty. And I'm sorry, what did it want to know? Did it want it to be empty or not empty? It was asking if it was not empty. Opposite chord, ship dot. So it's asking if it's not empty. Okay, so if it's not empty, we do this. Okay. So if not, opposite blocks dot is empty. We're asking here if our layer axis is not Z. Okay. So we're asking, is our layer axis not equal to axis.z? If it's not, so here's the op block. Now we're asking, is the opposite block a door? the door axis is axis.y if, so the door's axis is y. What? How does this logic work? So the door axis is y if our dimension is x. Otherwise, the door axis is x. How are we guaranteeing that? Okay, whatever. I guess that's fine. That's fine. We're figuring that out later, somewhere else. We just need to know whether the. Okay, I don't know. I don't know how that works. We're saying if. So hold on. We're saying if layer axis is axis.x, then the door axis is y. Otherwise, the door axis is x. Okay, simple enough. Trusting that that's true. Trusting that that makes sense. So here we ask if whoa, what are we doing here? Okay, so here we're asking if I'm telling this right. So ship.compartment 0 has relative to absolute. So absolute to relative. Oh god, this is horrible. So we're taking our opposite, the opposite coords, making them absolute. So we're going to turn them counterclockwise. Then we are going to add the coordinates of the opposite block for the door axis. And then we're going to turn it back to relative. Okay, okay. Oh. No, then we're going to turn it back to absolute. Absolute. This doesn't make any sense. Opposite coordinate is already relative, isn't it? Is it not? Opposite chords, relative to absolute, relative plus. Oh, that's unusual. That's not what we normally do, is it? Oh, no, we do. We take the relative coordinates, add the opposite block, and then turn it back into absolute. Okay, okay. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Tight, tight, tight. So that means, so this is, so we're asking if this block is outside, but the block that we're asking about is kind of insane. We're asking for the block at the opposite. So we want, so the core thing here, I'm going to replace this chunk by chunk so that I understand the order of operations. Here this is opposite position dot turn ccw game dot view dot angle. Okay, so we take that, we add the opposite block. I don't like that I call this opposite block. This should be like opposite position. I don't know, whatever. We call it opposite block in GDScript, but I don't love that. We need to rename this variable. Door axis. It's an axis. We apply the integer version of door axis. So we do that. So we make this thing. And then now we turn this. So now we turn this clockwise again. Game.view.angle. We take this, we turn it again. And then now that we've turned it, now we're asking if it's empty. Oh no, God, now we're plugging it into, this is horrible. This is truly horrible. So we're taking this, putting into the buffer. So we're saying comp dot get position index. Yeah, we definitely want some helper functions for this. This is so bad. We need trying to keep my parentheses straight here. Parenthesis, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. I need another open parenthesis here. So now we're asking if buffer. So we're asking if this buffer dot is outside. This is so stupid. We're basically asking if the block in front of the door is outside. So like we're here, the door is next to us, and then we're asking if the block in front of the door or in front of the door is outside. This is insane. Why are we doing this? I gotta come up with a better way of representing of asking that question. That's so stupid. That's what we're asking, right? We're asking if it has. Yeah, we're asking if it's outside. Okay. That is insane. Oh my god. Whatever you just decided to do to my code, please don't do that. Oh shoot, we do have to. This is all the way over here. Okay, yeah, that's quite horrible. All right, I'm gonna clean that up because that makes me want to vomit. Um, this is a little more viewable. Code is so bad it makes the coder gag. Yeah. No, but that's really it's also impossible to understand what's happening. I mean, I get it now that I've like walked through it, but in another, in a month I'll be like, what is this doing? Where taking the opposite position, turning it counterclockwise, adding the opposite block of the door, turning it back clockwise again, and then asking is this outside? That's like so stupid. There's probably a shorter way to ask that question. All right, but if it is outside, now we can just say, oh, I need to define that key, position key. So if it is outside, we just say tiles position key is tile.null with hole type. Hole type is outer hole. Let's make this even less readable. Let's make this like a ternary. Yeah, I need to deal with the insane amount of nesting and stuff that's going on here. This looks way worse in C# than it did in GDScript. So that's that. So that determines, that's one way of knowing whether we're an inner or outer. That's this mess. Okay, so if it's not a door, then we ask if it's a wall. If it's a wall, we're just a middle layer. If it's not a wall, then we ask if we're outside. Okay. So bulk, then outside. Let's ask that question. So we can go out one. Oops. We can go out one. Else. Oh, this is an else if, isn't it? So get rid of that. Get rid of that. So now we're asking else if, what is happening right now? All right, there we go. Else if, we don't have the op block. Oh yeah, we do. Op block, else if, op block. Oh, if we already have the op block, can I do something else? No, we are op position dot. Yeah, I gotta change this. I gotta change. I'm referring to this, two different things using the same name. It's kind of a problem. Op block dot is outside. Then we are. Oh no, we're not asking if it's outside. We're asking if op block dot has that. Yeah, there you go. Then we do this. So you are translating the GD script to C# then for your game, or are you using both? We're using both, but so we've written an entity component system, and it's handling a separate simulation layer that's not in GD script land. It's like a separate thing. So we have a spun off. All our game data, all our simulation stuff is happening somewhere else. At this phase, I'm taking that data and I am essentially re-implementing our auto tiling system in C# so that we can figure out what the tile should look like based on updates to the simulation. And then we're just going to shove the packed byte array back into the correct Godot node for the tile map data. So we're re-implementing, I'm re-implementing that calculation here of what should the tiles look like, because that process works. So this should be easy to implement, but I'm having a hard time. Mainly because I don't remember how a lot of this works. Else if op block dot is outside, and we say no, we say outer. Oh, here outer is incorrect here. This should be middle. You know, we should probably go through this process, define this hull type thing, and then assign it at the end, but I don't care. I think doing it this way is fine. I think it really matters. Why are you upset about this? Make static? What? bi.tile.null, it does not exist into the income. Is it not static? I could have sworn I made this as a static. Yeah, it is. What's happening over here? Say default? Yes, I can. Yeah, the eventual intention is that the GD script stuff is going to be for rendering stuff like animations, stuff like that, or like UI. .null to create new instances. Interesting. Hey Xenoblade. No, it's more like the equivalent of vector 2.0. So like it's just like an uninitialized tile. I don't know a better way to call that than tile.null. Yeah, I could say tile.empty. It's just a tile that hasn't been initialized because we're just initializing it bit by bit because I don't know anything else about it except its hull type. And you know, I could just make a constructor and I could say new tile hull type, which would be fine. I'll probably eventually do that, but this seemed like a fine way to do it too. How's it going? Oh yeah, no, it's no worries. I'm willing to second guess all of this stuff. It's going okay. We're taking our GD script auto tiler, custom auto tiler, and we're plugging into C sharp, and we're having a fun time doing it. But how are you? I'm trying not to I'm re-implementing. I'm trying not to second guess it because it works in GD script form perfectly, but I keep reading it and being like, this can't be right. Like there must be a better way to do this, or like this seems completely wrong. But the behavior in Godot is perfect, so it's like the problem is me, not the code that I wrote in the past. Okay, so this is everything for this branch, right? Middle, outer, inner, get rid of that. And then, so what? So what's the next else? So if layer is not equal to z, block has door. What if our layer is z? And what are we? We're the wall right now. Hold on. Oh, if z, oh, so so if there is an opposite block, I remember that we have that check. So if there is an opposite block, if the opposite block is not empty and our layer access is z, then yes, the only value we can possibly have is whole layer middle, because we will be entombed above us. So that's why that is written that way. Okay, that makes sense. You know that feeling? Don't let it linger. It's poison. It's working. Yeah. I'm trying to put it out of my head. You made yourself just be stuck in meaningless tasks because you kept thinking there has to be a better way of doing this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're trying to trust. We're gonna, at least if we get it running, then we can start messing around with like there's probably a better way to do this, because this was originally written for it was a node per layer. Now we don't have the nodes anymore, so we're doing all of the layer calculations in one place. So like before we would calculate things multiple times because the layers couldn't really talk to each other. But now all the layers can see what all the other layers have. So we'll rewrite this a bit with that in mind, and we'll probably clean up some of this conditional logic. But we'll do that once it's running and we've confirmed that it's running. All right, so if the block is empty, now we're just checking to see if if our opposite block is empty, then now we just check to see if our opposite block is outside or not. Okay, and that's it. That should be it for the walls. So we say else if uh, op block is outside, the op block is outside or outside. Otherwise, so if the op block is empty and the op block is outside, otherwise the op block, otherwise we're inside. Okay, that's it. That's it for that. Except for some closing semicolons. There we go. Or brackets, curly braces. So why are you upset with me about this? Invert the if. Yeah, what would that do? Really? Oh, I see. Yeah, that is right. Yeah, that was a good time to invert. We're so nested. I'm concerned about it, but it's fine. This will work. This is ugly and horrible, but this should work. And this is the first pass. So this is the pass that determines the hull types. Why does that not have a closing curly brace that it can find? That's concerning. What's going on right now? What's happening up here? Oh, I added a parentheses there somehow. Still needs work. You think there's a coding method that helps to determine if changes in the code is beneficial enough to change? You forgot what they call it. That sounds like a great method. Whatever it is, I would like to know it. So we haven't used our layer form at all, huh? I feel like that should matter. Oh, it doesn't matter because we hard coded the behavior for the first 3 layers and then the second 3 layers. Right. I can probably simplify or kind of offload some of this insanity. So that's our first pass. So now we need second pass to determine source ID, atlas coords, and alternative tiles. So we'll do our second pass, and we'll do that next time because I am over time. We've been live for over 3 hours, and I'm quite hungry, and I'm quite tired. So we're probably gonna wrap up here. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna try to get more sleep tonight so that I'm a little sharper tomorrow. Because this is fine. This is fine as a thing to do in 3 hours, but I feel like we could have done better. And yeah, tomorrow, source IDs, atlas coords, alt tiles. And then once we have all of that information in each of these tile structs, then we'll have a simple process for shunting. I should probably declare this at the top. Yeah, I need to decide how I want the constructor for this to work. I'll probably make a bunch of different constructors. I feel like what we're going to do is we'll have this as part of the primary constructor, the position, area, and layer. And then everything else will be determined. We'll probably move away from this null tile thing. But oh well. We'll pick this back up. We'll pick this back up tomorrow. I appreciate everyone hanging out. There's been quite a decent number of people here. Let's see if there's anyone we can raid. Team's going strong here. There's a lot of people on the team streaming right now. Hypnotic is streaming. Fine is streaming. Stevie Ray Drawn. I've never seen them before. Who else do we got going? Otter Makes Games just started. We're gonna go check. We're gonna go hang out with them. Oh, I don't know how to spell their names. Otter Make Games. Have a well formulated name, man. Hey, Xenoblade, thank you. I'm gonna put on the music and play myself out. Thanks all for hanging out today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks again, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you next time. Grimgar, you just found me on your recommended page. Oh, thank you. I didn't see your notice until I didn't see your message until just now. I really appreciate that. Sorry you caught me at the end here, but hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.
Maximum warp.